Am alive. Dan Barry. How you doing, brother?
Good, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good man, good. It's return guest. You're becoming a podcast sensation.
I don't know about that. Yeah, don't know about that. But no, it's nice to be back. And I think the last one would have been just under a year ago that we had a chat. Probably after I think that
Yeah.
was after Port Macquarie. So yeah,
Yeah, we dropped
um,
it the day before Cairns. So I think we recorded it a week or two after Port.
yeah, nice. Yeah, no, it was obviously we've had a few events since then, and
Hmm.
yeah, no, it'd be good to have a bit of a recap.
Yeah, so last we spoke, and I just went through the cliff notes before, we were sort of like assessing Kona, what you thought you were going to do for Kona, what the lead into that was sort of going to be like. Let's go what you thought it was going to be like. Just recap people very quickly, and then what reality was like, both training and racing.
So ideally, the it was I think probably from about July. It's just we're just gonna hit the training, and go pretty heavy sort of right into Kona.
Mm-hmm.
We'd booked all accommodation, obviously booked flights, everything like that. Um, the plan was I did a week up in Cairns as well, probably about 6 weeks out, just to do a bit of time in the heat,
Mm-hmm.
which went sort of pretty well. Maybe, uh, and then yeah, it was come back and just hit that little bit extra training here before flying over to Kona. Only sort of I think it was arriving on the Monday before the race on the Saturday. So for me, thinking, oh yeah, that'll be okay. And then yeah, we had the race. The ideal race would have been sort of swim, around an hour, bike around that 4.5 hours, and run somewhere near 3 hours. So um, that was the plan going into it. And then off the back of that, the plan was as well come back, rest up a little bit, and then probably try and go again for the 70.3 World Champs in Taupo. Um, and yeah, then as we get into it, I think yeah, reality was a little bit different to how that went. So,
Yeah, it's a
which
mass like the backup from Kona to Taupo was just, I think it was too big, like for most people.
yeah, I think for me, yeah, I think well we'll get into that, but I probably we're just after we spoke last time, that was Port Macquarie, and I'd just come off like sort of doing the Ironman New Zealand and going into Port Macquarie, and Port Macquarie half probably being still to this probably the best race that I've done, and the best race in terms of feeling that I've had. So, you know,
Yeah, you were
between
on fire that day.
yeah, so between um winning that race and having 3 or 4 beers after it, going to the presentation and just being like, oh yeah, I'll take a slot because I'll back up fine after Kona, be no
Mm-hmm.
worries. Um, yeah, that was pretty idealistic to think that, but uh, yeah, no, it was things change, I guess, as the year goes on. So yeah, in reality, it was still like I think everything pretty training wise went well going into Kona. Um, Probably I don't know. I guess for me it was probably up until that last couple of weeks, sort of the lead into Kona. I just
Mm-hmm.
as it happens for everyone, you get 2 weeks out, and that's when your motivation starts to drop, and you're just like, oh, I just want it to be over and done with.
Yeah.
Um, there was, yeah, so like I said, I still went up to Cairns, did the week of training. Everything went really well up there. Did some big Ks on the bike in the heat up there. Felt pretty good.
Did did you find that that translated to like Kona heat? Because everyone says when you get on the island, it's different, like you haven't experienced it before.
No, it was totally different. Yeah, once you're in
Yeah, right,
Kona,
okay.
yeah. So we're up in Cairns. I mean, it was still warm and still warmed up. I mean, we were riding up there, and within 10, 15 minutes we were sweating like just
Yeah.
heavily. But yeah, I guess yeah, if we go into Kona, like you we just sort of talk about the race itself, like
Hmm.
well, from arriving there like a week out, yeah, you do yeah, oh yeah, it's bloody hot, and the humidity is probably what gets you. It's only, still 28, 29 every day, but it's just that humidity. You get out onto the highway, and whether it's the humidity or it's the UV just beating down off that lava rock, like that's just when yeah, it's just totally different. Something you can't really train for unless you're over there.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
and yeah, that's sort of like uh, jumping back and forth. But like one of the probably takeaways from Kona would be like if I was to go back, it would be go at least sort of 2 weeks early before I went over
Really?
there. Before race day, should I say? Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So yeah, that's probably just what I do, just to probably acclimatize better. I mean, even getting to the island and traveling there. We went there on the Monday. Of course, coming from Honolulu across, bike didn't turn up on the same day because it's
Hmm.
such. You're just on the little plane, small, small airport when you rock up to Kona. So that's more stress. And yeah, I probably didn't handle that side of things very well. The stress, as my wife and family would definitely attest to. So yeah, um, it's definitely one thing I need to get better at leading into
Yeah.
races is just handling that last sort of week because I just turned into a just single track or single minded sort of like and nothing else matters. Like well,
Do you
probably
find
not
that
even.
even when you're racing in Australia, like you just like stress out a bit and go sort of single minded?
Yeah, probably definitely in that last week. Yeah, that's sort of it's been tricky. Like um we've traveled well like before I did New Zealand last year, we did it the year before and we traveled with the kids going over there and yeah, it's the same thing. It's yeah, like looking back at it, like it's not good. Like I don't know, like I'm not proud of how it is. Like as you get into that
Sure.
sort of that last week and you travel, I know, yeah, going to Kona this time it was like I may as well not have been there. Like traveling with the wife to help the kids going through the airport and all that sort of thing. Like because all
You
I'm
were just a
worried
million
about,
miles away.
yeah, you're worried thinking about the race, thinking about um
If your bike's going to turn up,
your
if the
bike, your
frame's
bike,
cracked. Oh, yeah.
yeah, your bike equipment. Even though there's nothing you can do at that stage, it's just like I don't know. It's part of me is it's just being anxious really for that last week, and then
I think that's common with athletes, dude. Like
yeah,
I think all of it, like you've invested so much time and money and resources and sacrificed things away from your family, all for this one day or this week away, like that you're in Kona. Like, of course, everything's just on the fucking razor.
yeah, that's absolutely um like as far as kind of the race, like um that was probably it all sort of like bound up and I don't know, it sort of hit me like it didn't really hit me. Like I know that I was so difficult during that week with family and travel and all that sort of stuff. Like, because it's so hot, I was, you're just trying to get out of the heat. So family want to go out and do things, but you don't even,
Yeah,
you
you
can't
just
even
want to
go
put your
out and
feet
do
up.
that. You're just gonna put your feet up and
Yeah,
sit inside when you're not actually, going out to go for a ride or a swim, run.
yeah,
Um, so. And like prior to that, you've got, 12 weeks or so of whatever training you've done where you've had the social and the family sacrifices. So um, that was like, I don't know, like throughout it all, like I don't really like get too emotional, but it was like, you come down to that finish line and at Kona, and like it wasn't until I hit like a leahy driving running up there, I was just like, oh, like fuck, like I've just been like all this the sacrifice and how I've been acting, how it has been, like I'm like, and now it's like, well, like is it was it worth it, like sort of thing, like because so you're running up there. I probably didn't run anywhere near like I wanted to as well, or um, just overall like the race experience. Like at the end of the day, like did a a good time, finished in a good time, um, finished like reasonable place in terms of age group and everything like that. But it's probably more my own expectations, which I didn't really meet, or where I was worried about, what other people might have thought or how I went. But yeah, I sort of come down that finish line, and that's where it sort of like hit me, and I was like, oh shit, like the amount of money that we just dropped into this, like, and then in turn for the way that, yeah, yeah, have been towards a family and all that sort of stuff. Like, I was just like, yeah, it wasn't until then I was like, oh shit, like, it's almost like a what have you done sort of thing. But then I sort of come through the finish line. I'd spend bugger all time in recovery because I just wanted to get out of there and pretty much apologize to my family for, just the way I'd been. So I was lucky though that um, we had the next week where we spent some time, like good time as a family together, which
Yep.
which had been good.
You guys stay in Hawaii for a week or so?
Yeah, we did. We flew back
Yep.
to Honolulu and had a week over at Waikiki Beach, which was great, sort of thing. So um, I know Whitney, my wife, and I had like all these plans. We'd been to Hawaii in the North Shore prior to having kids, and we had these expectations of what it might have been like, going for drives and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the kids just wanted to hang out at the pool all day. So
Yeah.
that was probably then we just went, oh yeah, this is what our holidays look like for now, which is fine. That's good. Um, the that's
Probably
what the
good for the
kids
legs,
enjoy.
mate, just hanging out by the pool. Couple of
It was,
cocktails.
yeah, and yeah, I was like, it was difficult because then at the same time I was like still processing what had happened, like for that race period. So, um, one thing that it did work for me was like when those sort of thoughts did come into my head, I was just like try and write down some notes. So I just got like the notes folder on my phone is huge from like the Kona wash up really sort of thing.
Yep.
So, um, just with things that uh, what I would do differently, what didn't do go so well. But yeah, no, it's been good to try and do that. And then getting home, still had a lot of sort of. I still thought, oh yeah, well I'll be able to go to Taupo, still be able to do that, but still was getting like a bit of push from coach and like sort of people within the training group as well. It's like, yeah, yeah, like have a little bit of rest and then you get yourself back up to go to Taupo. And in the end, I just couldn't do it. I was just like, I was wake up in the morning, like want to train, and I'd just be like, nah, I'm going back to sleep. Like it was just,
Yeah.
I think
The
it was
the
just
mental
burnt
side of
out.
it's so
Yeah.
tough. Yeah. Takes such a
Yeah.
toll.
Yeah, it's absolutely that. Like I still like I'd probably have yeah, coming back, I'd have one good training session and then just be like screwed for the next 3 days. I think it was just yeah, just burnt out completely.
Yeah.
But it was that same sort of still those feelings of like, oh, I've already taken so much family time away. Like it's horrible and pretty. How can I expect to come back and then go, oh, I'm going to do the exact same thing again for another, 4 to 6 weeks before you go to Taupo. So in the end, I just, yeah, yeah, ended up pulling the pin on going to Taupo. And like, as soon as I made that decision, it was just like, oh, it's like a weight off my shoulders. Like, I don't have to,
Yeah.
whether it was my own expectations or that of others, I was like, yep, no, don't have to worry about it now. Um, and it's sort of good. It's good to have a bit of a break because whether it's like going to the events or just in general the um, triathlon and even the the age group triathlon scene can be a bit overwhelming and just get to you in sort of uh, ways that it probably shouldn't. If you just like you can just get sucked into it a bit too much, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I just want to go back to what you were saying about Hawaii and how you were like didn't meet expectations and you were feeling bad. But don't, at least I get those feelings too when I don't perform. But don't you think that's what separates the good athletes from just the okay athletes? Like they have that expectation of themselves. Like that's what pushes you to perform at that level. If you do not have that drive, then you're just doing it for fun. Like that's not competing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, like I said, like if someone said to you, and even like we went into it and you went like, oh, you look at times from a couple of years ago and it's like, oh, you go sub 9 and it's like you're going to be like pushing to be in like top 10
You're at
in
the
your age
top.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah, the top 10 and oh like and as far as like time wise as well, like I come through recovery and we were there with like a couple of the other Aussie like age group athletes as well and they'd um like one guy in particular who'd been to Kona, several times, and he goes, there was a few of our sort of, I'll go like Kona debut debutantes that, we'd done sub 9, and he was just like, you guys need to be like, you should be happy. Like it's taken him take so long to be able to do that, but at the same time, it's just like, just the way that age group triathlon has changed. I mean, you look at the guys that were at the top. They were kind of particular ones that they're there for over in Kona for 6 weeks prior to the race. It's like you may as well be professional. Like so
Yeah, it's wild.
that's where you can get sucked in and you can be like, oh well, what are you doing? You compare? Do you compare to that, or you look sit back and go, hey, you still you work full time, you've got family, you've got kids, so like at the end of the day, like what you've done is good, but is good in that you should be happy with that. But yeah, you can't help but know that just think that I know I've got you have certain expectations of yourself, and then you look. I mean, yeah, you do look back at it, and that's probably yeah, like we were saying, sort of what sets it apart is if something doesn't go to plan. All you want to do is like delve deep into that and go, all right, what could I have done differently? And even when things do go well, you want to go, oh, what did I do there that
And how do I get
worked,
better?
and how do I replicate that or like replicate it but make it better? Um, so
It's a
yeah,
blessing and a curse, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely, and that's I mean that's what you say, like no going into the your next event, and you're not going to do the same thing. So
Yeah.
you got to take away and learn. I mean, it took me maybe till yeah after Christmas, New Year's, I was like, oh, leaving Coney, like, oh, I've done it now. Like, would I go back? But then after a few weeks and things process, you go, yeah, I think I could go back, and this is what I do differently. Like, um, so it's yeah, no, I like I was saying, it's just the expectations of, what I did going, what I hope to achieve. And then the small things like that I know that I might have let myself down on as well going into the race. One of those probably in particular is just like I just like I struggle with the weight sort of thing. And
Yeah.
like if I look at like that's sort of what pains me as well. So I look at like some photos and I'll go, oh, shit, you're you're 2 kilos heavy, like at Kona. Like, and I know it doesn't sound much, but like when you're in the heat,
It's a lot.
and yeah, it's a lot, and That's what I mean. It's
Well,
like you get to
let's
the
just
end
put
of that.
just give people some context on that. It's a lot when you're at that fucking razor's edge. Like that could be the difference in 3 minutes on the bike, and that's what separated you from getting in, like competing for the title, or you know what I mean. Like it's not much, but at the level you're competing, it's everything.
Yeah, it's that. It's the way that the age group racing itself has changed. It's like the end of the day, you've got to be a better swimmer because um, you ride as well as you want to, but you've got guys that are better swimmers, still strong bike riders, and they're up the front riding together. As much as it's 12 meters or whatever, but they've got people pacing them. They're within a group, and you're coming out 5 minutes down in the water, like, and having to ride the wheels off the bike, trying to keep up, and still not doing the same time as what those guys are doing up there, like up the front. So,
Mm.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's on the at a world championship type level. Like you can probably get away with it maybe in Australia because there's not so many guys like coming out and riding as a group up the front. And then at the same time, it's like, well, you pick your courses as well where you can make up time. Hawaii's like, you know, it's a fast bike, really. Like it's apart from the climb up to Harvey, and it's pretty rolly on the highway. But I mean, the road surface is fast, so it is pretty like conducive to being. If you're in a pack, you can ride pretty fast. I mean, just look at that pro race with that pack was between 15 and 20 riders big. So um, yeah, it's there's just a few things you've got to do, but yeah, getting back to the weight. I mean, across 3 races last year, that like to put it in context, there's like New Zealand where I was 76 kilos, um, Port where I was like 77, 78, and I know that's a half, but I felt strong and like I said, the best I ever had, and then Kona was probably like 79. So like you look at across that between the Ironman distance, there's like it's 3 kilos, but it makes for me at least it makes a huge difference. Um, and then that's like the hard thing as well is like you get to that, like I was saying, you that 2 weeks out from the Ironman, and you're probably like you've been watching your weight, and your weight's probably fine when the training's heavy and you're doing 20 plus hours a week. Like it's pretty hard like to not maintain that weight, but then you start trying to freshen up, you introduce travel and other sorts of stress, and it doesn't take much to put it on. So
Yeah.
um yeah, and you've just got to I just like got to be a bit more mindful of it in that last 2 weeks, and it's probably where I wasn't, because I was one, losing motivation towards it, and um just yeah, just with the stress of travel, and just probably getting in my own head. And it's like, even it, but then I was like, then I talked myself into just going, oh, yeah, I think I'm going to be like, I'll probably be 79, a little bit heavy for Kona, but it'll be all right because it'll be hot, and I'll sweat a bit off or something like that. But like
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
all doesn't didn't work like that. So
No. And then
at
you add
all.
the
So
carb load in, sodium load, like you put on another 1 or 2 kilos there. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was sort of like the day last year at Kona too. It was like for the swim. I mean, conditions are what it is. It's early in the morning. The water's hot, so. But yeah, coming out of that, we were actually pretty lucky on the bike. It was there was a bit of cloud cover, and like I had one of those the core temperature sensors in it, and I was trying from through training, through being like particularly up in Cairns, it was a good test for that. Um, I knew what sort of the my zones were for the heat, and on the bike in Kona, I was able to manage that no problem. Like I could do that. Road, uh, as I said, rode, like I was happy with how I rode over there. I was happy that I was able to maintain my core heat, not let it go. But it was just like, yeah, as soon as we came into transition, it was like, oh yeah, that cloud cover burnt off. Yeah, you didn't realize it till I sort of hopped off the bike, and then yeah, you are sitting in there in transition. You've got 3 or 4 volunteers, and they're all throwing ice and water down your back and cloth because it's like they knew it was hot, but like they probably knew it was hotter than what I did until I left that tent. And even, people talk about you get up onto the highway and that's where the heat hits you, but it wasn't even that. It was, you got down to the first 10 Ks on Leahy Drive and it was like you've got sort of trees either side of you. There was no wind, and it was just like a heat chamber in there. It was just I know as soon as I got out there, I was at like the 4K mark, and my core temperature was like yeah, it just went like up past like it was like 39, nearly hitting 40 degrees at the
Yeah,
4K
wow.
mark, and I just went, oh yep, this is just going to be survival from here on out. So like,
Mm.
yeah, as much as you want to try and hit the paces that you've trained for, it was just yeah, it was survival. It was aid station to aid station, try and cool down, and yeah, just survive till the end. Which is like disappointing because like you should know you're going there, it's going to be hot, that what you can do. And there's certain, as I said, I think there's people that did manage it really well. And but that's probably where getting there that little bit earlier would help, I think. It's particularly with that heat and as much as you don't want to do it, like especially in that because I got there in race week, you don't want to go out and run on the highway. Like you see people
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
it like on race week and you're like, that's stupid. Why would you be out there doing that in the middle, like in the heat? And you probably wouldn't do it on race week, but like if you were there a couple of weeks earlier, that's when you'd be out there doing it, like and
yeah,
really
for
getting
sure.
used to, what it's going to be like. In all like at all parts of the run, really. So yeah.
Yeah. So take me back to training. Let's just do like what you wish you'd changed or what you think you could do better. Like we'll do training and then we'll do the race because I know, like you're saying, you had a whole bunch of notes and you and I've sort of spoken on Instagram a little bit prior to this. So I'm just interested to hear like what you took away from it and how you'd change it. Now you've had time to reflect on it.
Yeah, it's more. I think like what I've wrote down notes and stuff like that would be like not necessarily for going back to Kona. It's more just like how I look at how I need to manage Ironman training going forward, and
Okay.
that's uh in terms of me being able to perform as best I can and be um present at home and
Father,
the
husband,
husband
all
and
these things.
father that I want to be. And like one of the biggest like notes that I sort of wrote down as well is I think you can get sucked into too much. You see other age groupers or potential like particularly probably other age groupers, that because the guys that you compete against are potentially 10 years younger than me. Like just talking in Oceania or something like that,
Yeah.
that they can you do these sort of big weeks and stuff like that. And that's probably what I'd done for, 12 months or something like that, and what I thought was the way to do it. But yeah, the thing that I've wrote down is like for me going forward is like I need to train like an age grouper, not like try and train like I want to be pro in a way. Like because I'm not that and I'm not gonna be, and I can't be that if I want to be, you know, father and husband that I want to be. So, in terms of doing that, I know it's very in vogue at the moment. I've heard like lots of people saying, I'm just going to do more quality sessions and less volume and stuff like that. But like, I think that's actually a reality of what I want to do, and at least try it going into like the next race is you still got to like have some heavy volume sessions, but does every week need to look like 23, 24 hours for me? Well, I don't think it can because then I'm just um,
It's a
not going to do
part-time
that.
job, dude, and that's like when
Yeah,
you're not making anything from it, it's actually taking from you. It's so hard to justify.
yeah, yeah. There's like lots of people say that it's like you've got work, family, and training, and you can never have all three. There's always one that will suffer. So and uh, like I'm pretty fortunate. Like work for me, like still work, mate. Um, 40 hours a week, but it's pretty flexible in the way that I do that. So
Hmm.
that's like not such an issue there. But like even though that is flexible, like more of the time that I do have, I was probably putting that more into training, trying to like eke every little bit of what I could out of it. Whereas yeah, going forward, I don't think that's the way that I'll try and do it. Um, and it's more just like because I come out of Kona and to try and get back into training, like I'm just for Taupo was like you jump on the trainer or go to do a session, and I was like, I'm just doing this to compete. Like I'm not even enjoying it really at the moment.
Yeah,
So
right.
for me, I'm just like I need to get back to why did I start it? Why did I start doing World Triathlon and what do I enjoy? And just go and do some more of that really. Like, and that's what I've done pretty much December, January, and I actually feel really good at the minute doing that. So yeah, when I do the next race though, like I think it'll be I'll be working sort of pretty closely with the coach and just making like just changing the way that we sort of do it, and not so much of a uh just going and riding 6 or 7 hours for the sake of it. But
Yep.
trying to get some more quality, and particularly those, during the week, the midweek sessions, just um, probably having to drop that volume down a little bit, really. So yeah, but I mean, it's all going to be trial and error, really, and what works. I think, yeah. One thing I
Yeah.
really
So
want to do is try. Sorry.
I've got two questions with that. Then one is yes, trial and error, but you're such a competitor. Are you okay if performance dips?
Uh,
It's a tough one.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty confident. Like I don't know. Like I can. Like I'm still not. It's not like I'm gonna like completely cut training in half or anything like that. It's
No,
more like,
but look, when we last spoke, you were like undefeated. I'm trying to give context for listeners who maybe didn't listen to the first episode. You were undefeated, three races in like for that season so far. You were Port Macquarie. You fucking lit it on fire, and I was like, if you drop things down, there is a chance that that doesn't come back.
yeah. Oh, there's every chance like that. But um, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. And yeah, I'll probably. I think if I can come out of it like it's particularly I'm not so worried about the performance drop if, if I can nail like going into a race and being happy and, you know, and then being in a better space at home, um, and I can go into a race knowing that I've managed this training well. I'm, you know, enjoying the time at home with my wife and the kids and giving them everything that I can and still managing to fit this training in. Like, yeah, I think I'll be happy. Yeah, definitely with that. So, but yeah, at the same time, like I still want to compete and um do what I can. But yeah, I think it's just at the end of the day, I'm just like I said, just that age group triathlon landscape, I've just got to, really just take a step back from that. Do do what suits me instead of like trying to whether it's compare or like I don't necessarily worry about comparing because I know and I trust sort of the training that I do. Um, but yeah, it's more just like not getting worried. And on top of that, if I've got some, because like I said, the weight thing is something that I struggle with in the past, but I've got some, I think different strategies to try and manage that as well, going into a race. So, yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, it's going to be just suck it and see what happens come the next race that I do. So,
Yeah, I definitely think there's something to be said for a happy competitor or a happy athlete over the tense athlete. Like, if you gave both identical training, identical everything, I back the person who's happy on the start line every day of the week.
yeah, 100%. And like, yeah, keep going back to it, but like because that Port 70.3 was such a good day, like I've looked back, I've looked exactly what you're talking about now, and I know like in the days leading up to that, um, you know, in whether it's group chat or we're up there with some of the other like guys within the training group, I was happy. It was just, taking the piss. It was looking like it was going to be wet, and I was like praying for it to be like pissing down rain, and people were getting nervous, and it's just taking the piss out of people, going, it's going to be. I hope it's absolutely pissing down, and like just like happy going into that race. So I don't know. Yeah, I just had no. I don't know. It was probably one I just had, yeah, no expectations, particularly going into that. Even though I'd won it the year before, but I don't know. Somehow I managed that better than I ever had before. And maybe it was a confidence thing as well. So going into that,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. I was chatting to Clayton about this on the podcast the other week, and I was, pretty much what you said, that comparison of like what the elite or even people who think they're elite age groupers are doing. Like it's 90% of a professional load, and it's just, does it keep trending that way, or do people start doing what you're doing and be like, look, I'm an age group athlete. I do this for fun. I do this for me. I need to take a step back. And I'm just like, because you can only go to one extreme for so long.
yeah. Oh, if it's gonna happen, it's not happening now because
No.
I can hear you can already see it. Like, um, you know, people people they'll be looking at Bustleton and thinking, all right, like, which is in December this year, and they're going, all right, I'm gonna start training now. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, all you're gonna end up with if you do that is you're just gonna end up burnt out. Like, there is no point doing it. So, um, really, it's you know, tick it along, like, get yourself to a nice, baseline of fitness, and whether it's your 12 or your 14-week mark out, or 100 days, whatever it is, that's like then zero, then zero in, and that's
Yeah,
when
yeah.
okay, it's on now. But I see people, they're starting training like way too far out, and I'm just like, yep, your motivation is just going to be gone by the time you actually get to 2 weeks out. It's a lot to ask. It's sometimes, yeah, it's too much to ask to go and train for the whole year and then expect to be on it on that one day. And yeah, I mean that's like, yeah, and then that is the worst thing about any endurance event, like particularly Ironman or even 70.3, is you do this 12, 14 weeks, 100 days of training, and everything comes down to one day. Like, so,
Yeah, it's
you know,
wild.
yeah, it is. I mean, it is tough. So, that's what I mean.
When you look
Unless,
at it as a sport, it doesn't even make sense, like from that aspect. Like, it's like, oh, you didn't get to perform on that day. Sorry, you've got to wait 3 months to race again. It's like, don't
yeah,
get to do it next Saturday, next Sunday, whatever. It's just
yep.
gone.
And that's why I think, like, when you are in these periods where you're a long way out, it's like, that's probably when you should just go and race a little bit more often, or do some other, events that are going to be like, not that you care where you finish or where you come, just go and get do some races and enjoy it, rather than, everything just, um, crescendoing at this one point at the end it where it's either going to go one of two ways. You're going to be happy or you're going to be, disappointed. So, um, yeah, that would be my advice to people as well. It's just like, particularly it's okay for some people. Like, I mean, that if you're in a position where like you're going to be professional or something like that, yeah, you will get used to how you're going to train and
Yeah.
go like that. But then at the same point, there's some people that are training like that and never going to be professional, or even if they
Mm.
are going to be professional, um,
They're
so
not world
you
champion or,
yeah,
they're
but
low level pros. Yeah.
or you turn around the next day and go, apply to TA and get a pro license, which like we all know that's fucking like that's just the piss take at the moment because it's way
Yeah.
too easy to do that. Um, but like what sort of bonus are you getting by being a pro when you're already pretty much trained like a pro? So I mean, yeah, I don't know really what the answer is there, but like it's I think you just got to come back to and remember what you enjoy and do that. So
Yeah. And I think we should close on that, dude. What you said you wanted to work out why you did triathlon and what was your reason. Did you come up with an answer?
um, well, I think I initially like I got into it because mainly for the fitness thing, but then I think the further I've got into it, it is of everything we talked about now. Like it is that competition and having that drive, like and that having a goal really, like that gets me by. Like when I do go through periods where I don't have a particular goal, like that's probably when yeah, you do feel a little bit lost. So it is good to have that goal at the end there to something to achieve, and I think that's probably why I do it, just mainly for um yeah, purely probably for your own mental health reasons in a way. So yeah, just to
It's interesting, right? Like I always wonder, especially for guys, maybe it's for girls too, I've never asked, but for guys, like if I was still able to play footy, like rugby league, I wonder like would I still do it at 32? Like, but it's a bit more of a young man sport, like contact and whatnot. And I'm like, do I just do triathlon because as you get older, it is more conducive to do endurance sports and like you're more conditioned for it? And I'm just like, is this just the best option I have left, or do I actually really love it? Sometimes I go through that conversation.
yeah, that I mean, yeah, you definitely had that conversation, and I mean, it's one of those things. It's the same with running or cycling or anything like that.
Yeah, all the
It's like
same, all fits in the same category. Yeah,
you come into it and it's the same. Everyone does the same thing. You go in and your progression curve at start is so steep, and you're like, oh well, I'm going really well. I'm
yeah.
PBing every time I go into a race, and then you probably get like yeah that couple of years in where the improvements then become like so small, and that's normally when people will probably drop out or they stop doing it or something like that. But yeah, I think that's what sucks people in initially is like just that.
Yeah, you get so good so fast relative to where you started. It's addictive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I get
absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And like that's definitely where it is. And then yeah, let's say you get to that point and where the improvements are minimal or smaller, and then you've got to find maybe a different reason for your motivation and what that is. So um yeah.
I almost find the smaller wins now that like I guess my progression sort of I've still kind of got that beginner curve, but now it's slowing down. I almost find it more interesting because you've got to think about it more. It's not just physical output. You've actually got to start putting your brain into it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean it gets everything moves, towards what swimming is like in a way, because it's like running and riding. You want to get faster, you want to get better. You just do it more often, and or um, do it or train harder or do whatever you can. But swimming, yeah, you have to think about it with technique and all this sort of, that in that way. So if you got to look at your training as a whole like that, you've got to, yeah, you do have to be smarter. Your training strategies, like, yeah, and you say like finding what works for you, like, because probably at the start it's like the same. You can improve off just a basic, any sort of training plan really at
Yeah,
start.
any
Yeah,
program you do, you're going to get better.
yeah, that's right. I mean, if you be consistent for a few months or a year or something, like it's only natural that you'll get better. But then, yeah, to where to really start improving and to finding your absolute potential, that's when you really got to like dial it down, and that's where your coaches and the professionals in that area come in. So, yeah. Uh, Yeah, I mean it's all a big game, isn't it? And
Yeah, isn't
it's
it?
not all, yeah, it's always learning, which is good. And that's probably, yeah, that's one of the other things
I
which,
think that's the big one.
someone
You're
like
always
yourself,
learning.
yeah,
It's not just
yeah,
physical.
yeah, yeah, you're learning what works for you, what doesn't work, and
And
trying
even
new
what worked
things
last
every
time
time.
isn't necessarily going to work this time, whether that is you're lighter, it's a different course, it's a different temperature, it's a different humidity, like whatever. Like it's always just interchanging different puzzle pieces.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's what keeps us coming back. So that's good.
That's it.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have any the message you sent me before the podcast when we booked the podcast? You're like, I've got some thoughts on age group racing. Is there any left? Because I know we covered quite a lot of them, but is there anything that you really wanted to hit on, or is that you got it?
Uh, no, not necessarily. I think, yeah, it was more just those, like most of the things that we've talked
I think
about
you got
there.
like the
And
bulk of it out. Yeah,
yeah, pretty much. Like I said, there's differences between, yeah, your age group racing within Australia and then going to that world championship level where you have to be, um, yeah, I think the main takeaway there is you've got to swim and ride a lot closer to the front to be able um, to be in with a chance of being like right up there.
did you
Whereas, yeah,
feel any different, like on the start, like when you were around that? Because it's a like you say a world championship event. All the guys that and the girl. Oh, there's men's only. Sorry. All the guys there, uh, top of their game, elite. Like, did it feel different being around them, even on the start line, compared to like say a Port Macquarie or a Cairns? Like,
yeah, it definitely did. Like, it was, yeah, big like testosterone fueled sort of transition in the morning, and
yep.
uh, I don't know. Everyone's sort of, very much sort of kept to themselves a lot. It's not so much. I think it's probably more social potentially after it's all said and done. But yeah, like
For sure.
everyone's pretty serious. Everyone's in the same boat. They spent a lot of money to get there, done a lot of training to get there. So yeah, I mean, as much like Kona like itself, yeah, you get there and and once you're in and amongst all those people, it is. Yeah, you're only natural to like feel a bit nervous and a bit anxious, really. And then yeah, you jump in the water and you're with 250, 300 people that are just your age group. So and they're all like the top guys. So yeah, it is. Uh, yeah, you do really sort of feel nervous and you just sort of start to wonder, where are you gonna stack up as much? So. Um, But yeah, no, I think that's all part of it. Whereas if you go to, your local or just any race in Australia, I don't know. I think after going to Kona now, then going back to there, like you will definitely feel a lot more relaxed, sort of
Yeah.
going into those races, which is good, which will be a good experience, I think. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, man. Well, I'll see you at Port Macquarie, and where can people find you? You've got your own coaching, social media. Give everything a plug.
Yeah, mainly. So I'm coaching. I've just got a small group that I'm coaching at the moment, which is they're going really well. We have a good team going to Geelong, and then they're running coaching through Running Strong, which you can find on Instagram. Um, is yeah, that's going really well at the moment as well. So I'm working with Matt Ferguson, who's a PT and in the sort of the pro high rocks ranks himself. So we're having like uh, quite good success there, helping people to get through the high rocks, and really with a big focus on the run side of things. And yeah, it's going really well. Got quite a few people that are just long termers and staying on board and continuing to progress, which is good. And yeah, we're all about like a lot of what I've talked about today is I think my thing with coaching a lot of the age group athletes that I do is making sure they've got that balance between their training and the home life and making the training manageable for them. So yeah, no, it's
So
really
interesting
well.
that you do it for your athletes, but you don't do it for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's probably the hardest part is like, yeah, because I don't coach myself, but yeah, there's
Yeah,
part of me that's like, yeah, you have to be like get that training plan. You've got to be compliant. Like I don't know
yeah.
but that's like I said, that's what I'll learn and maybe implement. And uh, I think yeah, going into Port Macquarie when I do that this year, it's going to be yeah, I just got to work. Um, I think there's be yeah, be crazy not to now. Like between Clayton and myself, like we're both pretty switched on. We know what works, so we can make the training that I do be pretty cohesive about that, and come up with a good plan to
Yeah.
make it all happen.
Yeah,
So
nice,
it'll be
dude.
good.
I'll link all of your stuff below, and actually, I'll see you in Geelong. I won't see you in Paul. I'll see you in Geelong.
Yeah, I'll be up there. I'll probably just be on the sidelines watching, so it'll be good.
That's all right. All
All
right, bro. I'll talk to you soon.
right, thanks, Matt.
See ya.